is over. When you say you're feeling lonely, if you ever need a shoulder, you know where to find me. Stop chasing all the city lights. Breathe me in, go on and take your bite. Count on me to make you come alive. You know where to find me tonight. You know where to find me tonight. When you feel the world is over, when you say you're feeling lonely, if you ever need a shoulder, you know where to find me. Stop chasing all the city lights. Breathe me in, go on and take your bite. Count on me to make you come alive. I've been keeping myself so busy, pushing out the misery, trying to find the peace in me. I wanna be, I wanna be, I wanna find myself, but again, it's always a phase. I wanted to stay, no you don't understand. I've been losing myself, I've been losing myself. I've been keeping myself so busy, pushing out the misery, trying to find the peace in me. I wanna be, I wanna be, I wanna find myself, but again, it's always a phase. I wanted to stay, no you don't understand. I've been losing myself, I've been losing myself. I've been keeping myself so busy, pushing out the misery, trying to find the peace in me. I wanna be, I wanna be, I wanna find myself, but again, it's always a phase. I wanted to stay, no you don't understand. I've been losing myself, I've been losing myself. I've been keeping myself so busy, pushing out the misery, trying to find the peace in me. I wanna be, I wanna be, I wanna find myself, but again, it's always a phase. I wanted to stay, no you don't understand. I've been losing myself, I've been losing myself.
So purely, I'm pushing myself to the edge, not letting go away. Been testing myself by the worst. I've been pushing my mind to the most. I've been loving the people around me, but I'm so paranoid, so paranoid, yeah.
Look into my eyes and show me your adventures I haven't seen. Taking all the life, it hits the spot. Walking on fantasy. So take me, baby, take me to a For you, there's nothing I wouldn't do. 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 For you, for you, for you, for you, for Open eye, how blue skies for the first time. I got nightmares sometimes, 'cause I'm bracing for a storm I'm used to. You stuck through blizzards, winter nights with you. Now I'm blooming just for you. There's nothing I wouldn't do. For you, 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 for you, for you, for you, for Say I'm good-hearted, but I'm just getting started. Got my eyes on the target. No, no. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. I'll never run. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. They say I'm dangerous, 'cause I broke all their cages. No, I won't sit and take it. No, no. They left me for dead, I guess I'll never learn. Every time I break, there's just more pain to burn. They'll never, never, never learn. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. I'll never run. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. cheated, I wasn't playing. Now, this time I leave with my head up winning. Don't feel like crying. What goes up, comes back down. What goes out, comes around. What goes up, comes back down. And your day will come around. Oh no. What goes up, comes back down. What goes out, comes around. You're so dumb and reckless. You already reckless. What goes up, comes back down. And your day will come around. And I don't wanna fix this. You already like this. But go.
Alrighty then. How's everyone going? How many people we got here right now? We got 60. I think 60 overall. I'm not sure if it's 60 all at once. Oh well, that's fine. Good start. Alright, so today I'm going to start off by looking at this that I posted last night very, very quickly. Then we'll go on to the second module in this very, very sick study that Wellington University has decided would be a good idea to support. So it appears, of face value, that they are trying to withdraw the registration from the contributor. So they're trying to withdraw the registration for the study on whatever this is. I don't fully understand how the site works with them, submitting their studies and how all that works. But with that being said, it appears that they're trying to withdraw it. And that's happened in the last kind of 24, 48 hours after this has kind of kicked up an absolute storm everywhere, including on the platform now, it seems. And the platform's jumped on. In fact, they've probably done the most of everyone to actually expose the issue going on in terms to a broader audience outside of just X. So that's very, very good to see. But yes, it appears that they might be trying to withdraw the study, and, well, it's probably a good thing. Some people are saying, well, it'd be better if we didn't, so that they could really see that all of the people that are signing up to it really don't like pedophiles. They really don't like people that are attracted to children. They want their voice to be heard. And I think in some respects that probably is still happening. And it probably does send a very clear message from the fact that they feel the need to withdraw it, that people aren't necessarily keen on the idea of the study existing in the first place. Because let us remind ourselves why they want this study: to reduce stigma towards people who are attracted to children. Reduce stigma. In other words, normalize it. Which is just utterly ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. Now, I quickly bring up my multi-stream so I can quickly have a check at that. I notice that's probably the easiest way for me to check, so I've already had one comment. By the way, how do you guys feel about the brand new kind of layout we got going on here? And of course, if you're having trouble reading any of the text, do let me know so I can increase it and so forth. That's the only way I'm going to be able to manage that into the future. For some reason, chat's playing up. Just give us a second. Fuck the platform. Well, the platform's... I'm not the biggest fan of the platform myself, but credit where it's due. At least they're talking about this one issue. And you know what? I'm going to make your text white. Much easier to see if it's white. So just give me a moment, everybody. Okay, that should do the trick there. Thank you very much. But yes, so that's whereabouts where we're at with this. They know that we're not a fan of it. They know we don't want people sitting here trying to destigmatize people attracted to children. But fret not those who want their voices heard, because at least as of right now, I'm still receiving modules. So we're going to go over the modules, and we're going to complete the modules when and if they arrive. So I've got the second module today to go over, and we can have a look at just what it goes on about today. I think it tries to get a little bit more personal based on the start of this one, as I can see so far. And just a reminder, if you do need me to increase the size of the text at all, let me know. I can do that to some degree. I know the new layout I've got here does mean that the actual screen we're looking at is much smaller, but hey, anything for a bit of branding. But yes, moving on. So, the Perceptions Towards People with a Sexual Attraction to Children Study, Module 2. Throughout the next 3 modules, we'll introduce you to 3 people, Joe, Sam, and Rick. This is Joe. Joe is in his early 30s and he works in the butchery at his local supermarket. He has 2 younger brothers and his parents have been married for almost 35 years. They grew up in a rural New Zealand town and Joe still lives there. When Joe and his brothers were young, they all played rugby at school and in their local team. While Joe's younger brothers both still play rugby, Joe had to quit after an injury. Joe still goes to see his brothers play when he's free, and they all get together regularly for a barbecue to watch their favourite teams play. Joe has worked in the butchery for a few years now, after he spent some time working in different departments of the supermarket. When he's not working, Joe enjoys barbecuing for his friends and family, telling them about the different cuts of meat and how best to prepare them. Oh, they're trying to make out Joe to be some very good average chap that everyone can get along, everyone can resonate with Joe here. Just an average hard-working bloke. But I wonder if there's anything mysterious about Joe that we're yet to find out. Perhaps not. This is Sam. Sam has recently turned 20 and is in their second year of university studying marketing. They grew up in the city suburbs with their older brother and younger sister, splitting time between their dad's house and their mum and stepdad's house. I'm interesting with this whole there. They're really emphasizing the there. What's this look like to you? This looks like a bloke who is a little bit confused. It could even be a chick that's a little bit confused and has decided to go for the nose ring beanie look. Thank goodness I don't have a nose ring. They grew up in the city suburbs with their older brother and younger sister, splitting time between their dad's house and their mum and stepdad's house. They're currently living in a flat with friends from university. Sam spent their childhood obsessed with music, begging their parents for a guitar and lessons for years until they gave in, and collecting vinyl records from their favourite bands. While Sam had dreamt of starting a band and becoming famous, their dad pushed them to pursue a university degree and get a real job. Perhaps that was probably the wrong call, as at university, you end up leaving saying you're a they, them. Sam doesn't mind their university classes, but they've definitely handed a few assignments in late after spending too long teaching themselves a new song on the guitar. This is Rick. Rick is in his late 40s and he works in IT. He has recently moved into a new town in order to be closer to his mum after his dad died. He has a teenage daughter who lives with her mum most of the time, but he sees her a few times a month and over the holidays. Rick has been working in IT since he was in his 20s and has no plans to change his career. He likes the consistency in working with something he knows nearly everything about. Rick works mainly online, which suits him, as it means he can keep his mum... Oh my goodness, I just realised something, people, and I do apologise. I do very much apologise. But hey, it's just a bunch of text, so who cares? It is just a bunch of text, so who cares? Alrighty. This is Rick, by the way, and we'll go back and I'll introduce you to Sam. There's Sam, the they, them. And here's your every average meat-loving bloke that likes barbecues. All of these people are very, very normal, it seems. All of them are very, very normal. How kind of them to give us people that we could resonate with. Maybe not so much Sam, But you get rid of the they, them, and Sam's pretty relatable. Even Rick, he seems pretty relatable. And you see, so Rick mainly works online, which suits him as it means he can keep his mum company during the day. Outside of work, Rick enjoys fishing at the nearby beach with a childhood friend, and he'll often cook up his catches for himself and his mum. In the next module, you'll find out more about Joe, Sam, and Rick. Oh my goodness, I actually was sitting here thinking that we had learned everything there was to know about Sam, Rick, and what's his face, Joe. I thought there was everything. Like, that seems like enough. That seems like enough. Do we really need to know anything more about these guys? Seriously. They seem like ordinary chaps, even if one wants to be a they-them. Outside of the they-them thing, they seem pretty ordinary. What could possibly be so crazy about these people? They're quite normal. They're normal people. In this module, we discuss the people who experience a sexual attraction to children. There are a lot of stereotypes about the kinds of people who experience this attraction, about what they look like, how they act, and even how old they are. Oh yes, of course, everything we've got in our mind right now that it's some, I don't know, drag queen or someone dressed in a way that they probably shouldn't be, etc., etc., or very old creepy dudes, a church, a priest, whatever it happens to be. There are a lot of stereotypes about the kinds of people who experience this attraction, what they look like, how they act, and how old they are. Like many stereotypes, these are often false. People who have an attraction to children are just like anyone else in the community, but they happen to experience a sexual attraction that cannot be acted upon morally or legally. See, they're all very, very much normal. Just normal people. Normal people. Just like the person who wants to be a serial killer is a very normal person. This is just something that should be tolerated in society. We shouldn't say, hey, look, that you should not be thinking that way. The thoughts that you're having, the urges that you have, they're disgusting, they're repulsive, go get rid of them, piss off, stay away from me, which is exactly fair and what should have happened. No, these are normal. As long as they don't act on it, it's completely fine. It's completely fine as long as you don't act on it. Completely fine. Like many stereotypes, these are often false. Because we just got introduced to Joe, to Sam, and to what's-his-face, Rick. They all seem pretty normal, apart from the fact that one's a they-them, which means they're ideologically captured and want attention. But no, they're not normal, are they? They are not normal at all, but this study wants to tell you they are normal. This study wants to tell you as long as you do not act on thoughts that are illegal, you're normal. You should be accepted into society in the exact same way. They shouldn't treat you any differently around their children. They shouldn't treat you any differently in any situation. You're exactly the same as everyone else. It's almost as if stigma is always some ridiculous thing. That the only reason humans ever develop prejudice or stigma is purely for irrational reasons, which make absolutely no sense and is completely unjustified. Completely unjustified, it seems. But hey, having a sexual attraction doesn't dictate other aspects of someone's life, like their appearance, hobbies and interests, or personality. Knowing that someone has a sexual attraction only means that you know that they have this particular attraction, but not anything else about them. Well, what it does suggest about them is that they've, for whatever reason, managed to find themselves in a minority of people who have sick thoughts and can't get rid of them. Can't get rid of them at all. Isn't that interesting? Sure, it tells me that I should keep kids away from them, although I'm presuming this doesn't want you to do that. It's suggesting that they're very, very, very much normal, that there's absolutely nothing to know about them apart from who they like. It's like, for example, if I know that a guy that my girlfriend is hanging out with really likes her, I don't want him anywhere fucking near it, do I? Wouldn't that be the life to have that problem? I don't want her anywhere near him. Because obviously his intentions, be them ones where he's going to respect me or not, he's eventually going to think with the wrong head. Anyone in your community could potentially experience a sexual attraction to children. The estimated prevalence is around 1 to 3% in the general male population. What I'm interested, although the exact prevalence is uncertain, especially in women. Yeah, it's convenient. They don't really want to talk about women in this. They just want to focus on males because, as we all know, academia is filled with male haters. Although, of course, it's also kind of, the stats I'm sure would be stunted because they don't really know what a male and a female is anymore. Module 1 mentioned how people with a sexual attraction tend to realize their attraction at a young age. And that was what we went into yesterday. About the same time that other people are realizing their own sexual orientations. This means that people who experience a sexual attraction are not only adults, but also adolescents who are discovering their sexual interest for the first time. Well, of course, someone who is only 14 years old and starting to become sexually interested is going to be attracted to a 14-year-old. For goodness sake, it's about ensuring that you grow out of it as you grow up. That's really what it is here. Some people grow out of it, and others choose not to. Look, I'm sorry, I'm 24. Yes, I acknowledge 20-year-olds are far more attractive than 50-year-olds, generally. But, at least 20's an adult. Having a sexual attraction doesn't make someone a monster or a bad person. It's just a part of their life that they didn't choose. They didn't choose. Again, a lot of they didn't choose it. Lust is a choice. There are many things you can do to push aside lust until it no longer has any impact on you. People choose not to because it's the easy option. It doesn't mean that they will act on their attractions by abusing a child, even though they may have sexual thoughts and attractions towards them. Oh, how lovely. So it's okay. They're allowed to look after the children at the kindergarten because they don't actually act on it necessarily. Okay. Like the general public, many people with this attraction understand the incredible harm that sexual abuse does to children and are strongly opposed to acting on their attractions because of this. Oh, how kind of them. What saints. While some people with a sexual attraction to children may sexually offend, many don't. Alongside this, many people who do sexually abuse children aren't motivated. Oh, for goodness sake. Aren't motivated by having a sexual attraction. Wait, I want to reread that. While some people with a sexual attraction may sexually offend, many don't. Alongside this, many people who do sexually abuse aren't motivated by having a sexual attraction to them. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. That's called waffle, everybody. Saying that someone just assaults a child in that way, even if they don't have it. Well, I mean, obviously, they've got some degree of an attraction there, otherwise they wouldn't do it. It's like, if I have a human here, and let's hypothesize and pretend that I'm a recidivist sexual offender. As a human hair and a horse hair, I'm not going to go anywhere near the horse unless I find it in some way attractive, am I? But we know some people are, whatever that means. Sexual attraction to children is different to sexually abusing a child. This is what we went back to in the module yesterday. Attraction is not action. Typical liberal leftist bullshit catchphrases to try and normalize craziness. Attraction is different to action. There we go. Thoughts is different to behaviors. How nice. The idea is to get rid of the thoughts, but it's easier just to normalize it. It's easier just to remove all the stigma. If someone has an attraction to children, that means they're quiet and reserved. No. They can be anything. They're single. They can be anything. They're a man. They can be anything. They're a bad person. Well, that's always up for debate. They like childish things, perhaps, all of the above, none of the above. I mean, it really is pick your poison. They can be all of those things. They cannot be all of those things. But obviously it's that. What is the estimated prevalence of attraction in the general male population? Well, good thing I know how to read. 1 to 3%, although if we dealt with these people the way that some had suggested, it'd probably be closer to that one. Everyone who has a sexual attraction will eventually harm. Well, of course it's false, but we see what they're trying to do here. Thank you for taking part in Module 2. Your quiz score is available on the following page. Oh, yippee, I'm smart because I know how to read. Good for them. Good for them. Now, on the off chance that they send me the third module right now, I'm going to have a quick look at my emails. But if not, and if there is one, then we'll do this afterwards. We will look at the platforms, what the platform has to say about it very quickly. But I'll quickly check my emails. Do we have anything coming through? Because I believe yesterday they sent the next module pretty much straight away. So I'm just wanting to double check that's not the case. If not, I'll check again. I'll check again very, very soon. So we've got 88 viewers. Great. Very good. Once again, thank you everyone for tuning in. It's not always easy at like this time of the day. It's not exactly a time where lots and lots of people are on, like Simon TV does well at. But hey, I've got all the space in the world to myself, and it's an important issue. So fortunately, everyone can go and watch it after the fact. If you are missing it, if you want to come back and watch it another time, YouTube is the best place for it. It just tends to work better with video replays. But of course, that is completely up to you. But looking at my emails, it doesn't look like I have got anything as of yet. So we will move on and have a look at what the platform has to say on the issue. And just to, I mean, everything looks good in terms of audio. If you need me to turn my microphone down at all or up, let me know as well. And any other kind of feedback, advice, and so forth, more than happy to hear it. But anyways, the platform and everyone's, well, kind of every awoken soul's surprisingly least favorite site, mainly because they insult our intelligence by pretending that they're alternative, but still kind of shunning those who have actually fought hard to push back against the mainstream narratives. But let's be real. There is a lot of good stuff that comes out of the platform. Unfortunately, Sean Plunkett's a plonker. So, hey, what are you going to do? Who wants to destigmatize child abusers? Many of those who engage in such abhorrent acts are victims of similar abuse and in some sense deserve help and sympathy, but rebranding them as people with a sexual interest in minors only normalizes their evil behavior. Correct. The above headline is not one I ever imagined putting atop any article I ever authored, let alone having an answer to such a bizarre question. But as I write this in the absence of any evidence to the contrary, I must inform you that Victoria University of Wellington and others in our education system do. A research company has been canvassing for participants in a survey as part of a postgraduate thesis at Victoria. The thesis is entitled Testing the Efficacy of Educational Modules for Reducing the Stigma Towards People with a Sexual Interest in Minors. Now, I don't have a varsity degree. And no, you do not. But I'll have a crack at putting that word salad into common parlance. Can we teach people to be more accepting of those who want to sexually abuse kids? That is exactly what it says. The horrible suspicion is that the Theoretical educational modules might be introduced into our school system so that the kids themselves are less concerned about those who would prey upon for their own sexual gratification. A very good point I didn't think of. We have already seen groups like Inside Out given access to school students, not to help them through the bumps of growing up, but to recruit them into the cult of transsexuality. Now, I will say, given the one transsexual in my life that I have met, that is an insult to transsexuals. Transsexuals are actually trying to distance themselves from the transgender nonsense. So I will acknowledge that. With that being said, ideologically speaking, there is no real difference outside of those who are traditional transsexuals of old, kind of dismissing the bullshit gender ideologues, which is fair. But yeah, I am all for research into what makes someone a paedophile and how those blighted individuals might be helped to abandon their perverted urges. Many of those who engage in such abhorrent acts are victims of similar abuse and in some sense deserve help and sympathy, but rebranding them as people with a sexual interest in minors only normalises their evil behaviour. I would like to take part in the research and see how Victoria University thinks I might be educated out of my views on child abusers. There is something in it for me, as I could win one of the $10 $50 Prezi vouchers if I take part. Now, I will say I am kind of keen on the Prezi voucher. I won't lie. I am keen on the Prezi voucher. I could actually put it to some use. Who knows? But the fact that they're actually offering up $10 $50 Prezi vouchers if they take part is actually wild. Wild. The research has been approved by Victoria's Ethics Committee and has the blessing of its Vice-Chancellor. The fact that the Ethics Committee approved it is showing why we probably shouldn't bother with ethics committees at universities, because they dictate what's ethical. And quite frankly, if this is what they deem as ethical, then they can jog right on, move out, and get paid diddly squat. I don't know, heard something. I'm not educated enough to understand what the research is really about, and I'd love the university to explain it to me, but so far, crickets. For those of us not dwelling in ivory towers of intersectional madness, and the idea of destigmatizing child sex abuse is, of course, woke madness. Woke madness indeed. Anyone sitting here telling you that this is normal, that this is a study that should be done. I could go over to X right now and look at a certain person that's been, trying to call me obtuse, trying to say that I'm ignorant, that I'm making up what the study is about, despite the fact I'm doing the study. That I'm ignorant because apparently these are criminal behavioral psychologist people who are their only real intent is they really, really want to reduce the number of people who are victimizing children because of this, despite the fact that absolutely nowhere in the study is that mentioned. The entire study is based on reducing stigma towards those who think this way, so that they can go about their life without being stigmatized. Because apparently stigma increases the likelihood. According to this logic, apparently less stigma means you're less likely to commit an act. Last I checked, knowing that something is bad, being told that you're bad if you want to act on it, being told that you are bad because you are thinking this way, reduces the likelihood of you acting that way. So reducing stigma will very, very much likely, in my opinion, based on what I know about criminology, increase the likelihood that children are victimized. So these dickheads, quite frankly, they are dickheads. Or one particular dickhead, he knows who he is, he won't watch this. And if he does, good on you. But this study has absolutely nothing to do with reducing offending. Absolutely nothing. It doesn't say that anywhere. You've invented that so that you can defend this study existing. On that basis. It's a complete fiction, a fantasy you created. But of course, no, I'm the obtuse person making shit up, even though what I'm just saying is a reflection of what they themselves have produced, what they've shown online, what they've sent to my email. So I'm sorry, you're wrong, shut up. But that's more or less enough That's more or less enough on that subject, unless anyone has some comments. And if you do have anything to add, if you do have any questions about anything, leave them in the comments, and I'll take the time to go through and give views on it and so forth. That is completely fine by me. But just give me a moment, and we'll move straight on to these next couple of articles, both from stuff. One being the victim in Auckland shooting, and the Nomad and police chase. I know some Nomads, so I always enjoy looking at this stuff, although I don't think I know this one. But yes, we will very, very quickly get onto that now. So, the victim in Auckland shooting identified as 18-year-old. The victim of a shooting in Auckland overnight that escalated from a property dispute has just been identified as an 18-year-old man. Emergency services were called at about 6:50 p.m. to an address on Tuarangi Road near Western Springs Park in Grey Lynn, following a report of a gun being fired. Stuff understands the victim is Maxwell D. Repia. Repia recently attended Mount Albert Grammar School. This is the tragic thing, and this is one of the reasons why I put these two articles up, is the amount of young people I know that are just throwing their lives away over stupid shit. The fact that he recently attended Mount Albert Grammar School means he's young. And he's thrown his life away either by getting involved in some shit and ended up getting killed, or maybe he was just a completely innocent guy in it all, but given it was based at a property and with a dispute, I suspect he was involved in some shady shit, if not him, someone he knows. And of course, the individual who's responsible 100% is involved with shady shit, throwing their life away once again. I've known 12-year-olds who are locked up for double homicide. 12-year-olds. 14-year-olds, similar stuff. Throwing their lives away. Absolutely tragic. Ripia's family have declined to comment at this stage. Mount Albert Grammar School principal Pat Drum said Maxwell D was enrolled at MAGS for a period of 6 months in the second half of 2021. His physical attendance at school was very limited due to the lockdown being in place, and he did not return to MAGS in 2022, so I'm unable to provide any detailed comments apart from forwarding our condolences as a school to Maxwell D's whānau and friends at their loss. So yeah, he's probably between 16 and 18 is my guess. 16 and maybe 19 is my guess. Hard to know. So the altercation between two households. Detective Inspector Glenn Baldwin said the shooting was the result of an altercation between two households and their associates that had escalated due to a property dispute. A property dispute that leads to firearms is always interesting. Always interesting. In this country, a property dispute with firearms is not exactly what I would call the norm. Certainly not in bloody Mount Albert. Not in Grey Lynn, not in Mount Albert. That's weird. This was regarding broken windows on houses and vehicles. How do they break the windows? Firearms? It has now escalated to this, Baldwin said. This appalling violence will not be tolerated. Multiple shots were fired and both groups fled the scene. Police had not yet recovered the murder weapon. He said it was too early to say how many people were looking for, but there was likely at least a dozen involved. Okay, you don't have a property dispute with at least a dozen people involved and firearms, and it actually be related primarily to the property. Let's be real here. This is absolutely ridiculous. We don't yet understand the full numbers. It's a fairly chaotic series of events. When police arrived, people have fled the area. Baldwin said there were no evidence of gang links as yet, but criminals who were known to police were involved. Yeah, well. Check the Five Eyes agent connections. There would be Five Eyes agent connections to this? Really? Or is that to the previous topic? I don't know. But yes, no evidence of gang links, but criminals were known to the police were involved. And are you telling me that of all of those criminals that were involved, none of them have gang links? Because as long as they have gang links, then there is indeed evidence of gang links. Now, perhaps there are no gang links with those criminals. Nonetheless, as we can see, they were criminals, were they not? At least some of them. And I think if there's some of them, well, they're all more or less associated, are they not? The incident started at front of the property, and the 18-year-old, he was 18. Of course he's 18, it said so in the title. I'm dumb. A further 2 people presented to Auckland Hospital later in the night. One of those remained in a serious condition, and the other was in a serious but stable condition. A third man was brought to the Auckland Central Police Station, and speaking to police when it was realised he had also been shot. Wow, what a trooper. Didn't even know. Or maybe he did know and he was hiding it, which is wild. It was probably less severe, and maybe it was a nick, who knows. Yeah, that's crazy. He was transported to the hospital. All 3 men would all undergo surgery on Friday. Well, he had surgery. It was bad enough for surgery. The victim would be removed from the scene today with a post-mortem examination scheduled for tomorrow. Police believe the first possible incident was in March. So this has been an ongoing issue for months. And there's potential criminal links, and it doesn't really, to me, seem like an actual proper property dispute. This seems like something far deeper than a property dispute. And I suspect when all is said and done, it will be very, very clear that it was far more than a property dispute. A few bloody broken windows doesn't lead to a dozen people having a shootout, or at least one side having a shootout with the other. We need to unpack that some more. There was a subsequent incident on August 16 where someone was charged with burglary. I mean, now there's someone was charged with burglary. So they're robbing each other now. This is not just some broken windows, lads. He said an incident reported at 4 p.m. that same day was thought to be connected to what occurred later that evening. Asked about if police expected the dispute to continue and retaliate following this fatal shooting, Baldwin said, "We would like to think not." Yes, well, wishful thinking never got anyone anywhere, really. He said there would be an increased police presence, but asked the public to be the police's eyes and ears and report anything suspicious to 111. On Thursday night, a group of people could be seen comforting a woman who was in tears. A man at the scene told the NZ Herald his grandson had been killed in the incident. "I loved him," he said. "Loved him to bits." Kāinga Ora Regional Director Central and East Auckland John Tuberty said, "Our thoughts are with the friends and whānau who lost loved ones." Of course, Kāinga Ora is somehow linked to it all. As police have launched a homicide investigation, questions should be directed to them. It would be inappropriate for us to comment further. Baldwin said this was the 4th homicide investigation in 10 days. At this stage, none of them were believed to be linked. Well, lots of killing going on in Auckland, it seems. It's the 4th homicide in at least 10 days. It is a tragedy. The timing is incredibly unfortunate. There have been at least 11 homicides in New Zealand since August 1st. Sheesh. According to the homicide report, an ongoing staff data investigation examining why New Zealanders kill. All of the killings happened in the North Island, including 5 in Auckland. 3 of those 5 homicides have involved guns. Well, if they've involved guns, they very, very likely involve criminal elements likely involved with gangs. A lot of likelies, but let's be real here. 3 of the 5 have involved guns in Auckland. Lovely. And I'll tell you what are the odds? Those guns are not street legal. Or at least not in the possession of those who bought them. Across the country, there have been at least 43 homicides in 2024 compared to the 51 at the same time last year. Oh well, that's a good sign at least. I thought this government was doing a terrible job with regards to criminal justice. Of course, these things fluctuate, especially with crimes like this. But I will say, the current government has been... so far we haven't really seen any benefit in the criminal justice space as a whole. Though I don't expect that we would in only really 10 months of proper operation. I don't expect that a year from now we'll see a dramatic change. However, come 2 years from now, if we do not see a dramatic change in the trend with regards to crime rates, victimizations, then this government will be known as a failure. Now, if there are certain areas where there is definitely improvement, such as, let's say, youth justice, that would be a good step. That means they're implementing some things that are benefiting. But I think it's going to be extremely difficult to actually get a grip, get hold of the criminal justice or the criminal element of the society and get them under control in only 3 years. And I think the only way that you can is by being far more aggressive and no holds barred and with respect to actually trying to get it under control. And I don't know if the government has the balls to do it. Sure, they're doing many things. Some people think perhaps even a little bit draconian or that impede on freedom slightly. Those are good, in my opinion. I think when it comes to, this is what I've always been told, always been reminded of throughout the system. You lose your rights and duties that are the same as everyone in society when you choose to turn your back on society. When you choose to take away the rights of someone else, you get some of your rights taken away too. So if you are willfully involving yourself in criminal activity or with a criminal underworld, criminal element like gangs, then you deserve to have some of your freedoms impinged. Now, of course, this can be abused by a government deciding that, oh yes, we're just going to say anything that we don't like is, abusing your social contract or is in breach of your social contract, and so we should be able to restrict your freedoms. That's a fair argument. But until such a time as they decide that we are going to have warrantless search powers on you simply because we want it or because we don't like something you said online, I don't care. If they start doing warrantless search powers because of that, then we have a problem. So long as they're doing that because you have a patch on your back, that is absolutely fine by me. Sure, there are very kind patch members. I know some. I'm friends with patch members. That doesn't mean I think they should be patch members. That doesn't mean I think patch members, or being a patch member is good for them. That doesn't mean that they're not involving themselves willfully to a criminal element of society. They should be treated differently and should be treated with suspicion by authorities. I mean, that's what you should want if you want a safe community. Maybe I'm wrong. But nomad in police chase stays out of prison. Isn't that interesting? A young man ensconced in gang life has been given a chance to address his offending or risk going back to jail. Isn't it kind that they've allowed him to address his offending? We're not going to punish you for your offending. We're just going to allow you an opportunity to address it. Oh, yes, okay. Cruz Nahona, who has been a patched nomad member for several years, appeared in the Palmerston North District Court on Thursday on charges of breaching release conditions, failing to stop, dangerous driving, unlawfully being inside a building, and possessing methamphetamine. Now, for me, it depends on how much methamphetamine. But we'll get into that. The heavily tattooed 21-year-old stood clasping his hands in the dock as defense lawyer Mark Alderdice argued for a sentence focused on rehabilitation. One moment. George says, no quarter to gang members. I'm not quite sure what you mean by no quarter to gang members. But yeah. So the heavily tattooed 21, he argued for a sentence focused on rehabilitation. Here's an idea. Why not a sentence focused on rehabilitation whilst having a sentence which is appropriately punitive? Appropriately punitive. Right? You can do both. You can be punished for something by having your freedoms restricted, for example, incarceration, and also rehabilitate. Isn't that crazy? Who could have thought of that? Maybe it's just me. He is firmly ensconced in a lifestyle that is not conducive to him staying out of prison unless it is addressed. Well, here's an idea. Let's put him in prison for 6, 12 months, 2, 3 years. And whilst he's in there, we can work on ensuring that he can be released to a place which doesn't have him firmly ensconced in a lifestyle that is not conducive to him staying out of prison. That's one way to address it. But no, they want to do about it a different way, by leaving him in that lifestyle and addressing it at the same time, because that always works. Nahona was sentenced in October for serious offending related to an incident in January 2023 that featured the armed robbery of 2 vehicles and a police chase in the wider Manawatu. So at the very least, that's that's theft of a motor vehicle with a weapon. Don't know what that carries, but it's several years. But Older Dice said a sentence of intensive supervision would be tailored to address factors contributing to his offending, particularly his undiagnosed ADHD. ADHD to the rescue, just like with the Wellington Mayor. ADHD to the rescue. Next minute, I'm going to say I have ADHD and we should all say whoop-de-doo. What's funny, though, is these pricks can have undiagnosed ADHD and the left just say, oh, yeah, fair enough, let's give him a community-based sentence, let's not send him to prison. But as soon as I do something with severe mental illness that was undiagnosed for several years, it's lock him up and throw away the key because he has the wrong political views. Funny that, lefties. I'm consistent. I believe his undiagnosed ADHD is irrelevant. It's something that should be treated, but shouldn't prevent him from having a fair sentence, a fair amount of punishment. Punishment is important. It builds character. It really reinforces what you've done is wrong. Now, if there are elements in your life, be them psychological or cultural or environmental, that impact on you so that you have committed this act whereas you otherwise wouldn't have, well, that allows you to see where you need to improve, so that throughout that time that you're incarcerated, you can ensure those aren't going to be an issue when you're released. That doesn't mean you're exempt from the punishment. You still committed the act. Even if you're not really aware of it, you still committed the act. And when I say that, I mean people who are very severely mentally ill. You still need to have some form of punishment, some form of isolation from society until, one, there is believed to have been a fair punishment taken place, as well as you being rehabilitated. It's both, not one or the other. I'm sick of pretending people it is. 2-tier, 100%. 2-tier. He said the latest offending was a continuation rather than an escalation of past behaviour. Wasn't that good to know? Isn't it good to know that armed robbery of motor vehicles isn't an escalation? He just started off like that from day dot. From day dot. When saying that, at this age, there is a problem. Older Dice believed a sentence of supervision would be an incentive to keep Nahona out of prison. Would it not? Would it not be an incentive to keep you out of prison by avoiding prison? Who knows? The majority of people I've ever met that went on supervision use that as a means of getting away with it, essentially. Saying, I'll just do my supervision time and then I'll improve my ability to commit crimes, and then as soon as they aren't watching, or as soon as I catch them slipping, I'll go out and do it again. More or less how they talk. Judge Ian Mill said the offending occurred on March 28 when Nahona fled police at 100 kph. See, the issue is, let's go back to the top. The issue is they're arguing, and it seems to be he's been given it, a supervision order. A supervision order. Despite charges of breaching release conditions. Let's give him something that he can easily breach in response to him breaching. This is the nonsensical decisions of our justice system. It makes no sense. Because of undiagnosed ADHD, you can get away with it. Because of undiagnosed ADHD, you can give the waiter in Wellington somewhere a gobby, right? You can just give him a gobby. ADHD is a get out of jail free card. I wish I had it. Not really. But yes, he breached his conditions, which were what kept him out of jail in the first place. And then he fled police at 100 kilometers per hour, and he 100% went faster at some point, no doubt. And I doubt this is on the motorway as well, so he's going very quick. Very quick. He was spotted on Monrad Street, where a large tree was blocking the road. But as officers attempted to stop him, he sped off, forcing members of the public to take evasive action. Oh, so now he's endangering people quite severely, to the point they have to actually evade him. He drove into a cul-de-sac in Highbury, crashing into a trampoline. How dare you crash into a trampoline? That is tragic. Running into a nearby home. Wow. The occupants saw him and threatened to call police, so he climbed back out the window he came in. Well, at least we know he's a coward to some degree. He decided to run away. I mean, obviously he was on the run, so he's like, okay, I can't sit around here and mess with someone threatening to call the police because the police are right behind me anyway. He climbed back out the window he came in. He was eventually taken into custody and told police he panicked when he saw them, so kept on driving. Is that right, bro? You panicked so hard that you drove 100 k's down what I can only presume is as low as a 50k zone? As low? I don't know what Monrad Street's like and what the cul-de-sac was like, but a cul-de-sac, I'd say it's probably 50 k's max. Max. Crashing into a trampoline, of all things. Poor bloody trampoline, I'll repeat. And then found yourself into someone's home before jumping out the window again because they threatened to call the cops. Credit to you, you didn't hurt the person in the home. That's about all you have got going for you, mate. When police searched the vehicle, they found a small amount of meth, so he's probably an addict, or at the very least has it on occasion, keep himself skinny. The judge said Nahona failed to attend a meeting with probation ahead of sentencing, but he was willing to give him another chance. Isn't that right, Judge? Well, you're a shit judge. There you go, I said it. Mr. Alderdice has convinced me that perhaps there is another way. Convinced you with that pathetic excuse of a defense. The problem is you haven't complied with sentences in the past. 100%, you're on to it now, Judge. He hasn't complied with sentences in the past. So why would he do it this time? This time you've got to do it or you'll be back. Oh, so we just give him multiple chances. That's the strategy here. Give him multiple chances. 21-year-old guy, recidivist offender. Oh yeah, he won't do it again. We may as well give him the opportunity to go on a, crime spree, shits and gigs, right? What have we got to lose? It's in his best interest, allegedly. On all charges, he was sentenced to intensive supervision for 12 months and was disqualified from driving for 18 months. A slap on the wrist. Alderdice confirmed he would be serving that at a Maxwell's Line address, a property frequented by nomads. And I think this brings me back to what I said earlier. Where is it? Nahona was a young man and had to come to a turning point in his life, and with the support of his partner had a good chance of turning things around. He is firmly ensconced in a lifestyle that is not conducive to him staying out of prison unless it's addressed. The premise of keeping this guy out of prison is to ensure that he doesn't remain firmly ensconced in a lifestyle that is not conducive to him staying out of prison. It is about ensuring that he keeps away from all these bad influences. It's about ensuring that he doesn't reoffend. And the best way of doing that, apparently, and the judge agrees, is by sending him to a property frequented by nomads, otherwise known as the very individuals who kept him or keep him firmly in a lifestyle that is not conducive to staying out of prison. The entire point of keeping him out of prison was because apparently this is a better strategy to turn his life around than prison time. And all they've done is make sure he maintains the status quo. He will continue to offend, and this time next year or a year or two from now, he will be in prison. Because this judge decided, you know what, I could have sentenced you to, 2-3 years with a chance of parole after 1. I could have done that. And maybe you actually would have turned your life around at that point. Instead, you're going to reoffend, be it a year from now or more, and it's going to be much, much worse. And I'm going to have to sentence you to a minimum of 5, 6, 7 years. All of a sudden, you're not going to see freedom again until you're in your 30s. Maybe in your late 20s at best. But all because this judge decided to be a soft cock piece of useless shit. Piece of useless shit. Some shit's actually useful. For example, North Korea sending it over in balloons to South Korea. Now, I just wanted to come up with a bunch of insults because of how sick of these judges I am. There is absolutely no logic to that decision. That decision is what reinforces recidivism in this country. People blame prisons for recidivism. This sort of bullshit reinforces bad behavior. It is absolutely insane that this judge has a job. That decision alone should have him sacked. That's absolutely disgusting. The amount of young people, 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, 21, 22, 23, amount of young people that I know with so much potential, they can provide so much value to society, but are stuck in this cycle because of stupid decisions like this. It pisses me off. Now, fortunately, I know some people who, even though they are still loosely affiliated or even a little bit more affiliated with gangs, they actually have got their shit together for the most part. Now, they're still at risk of reoffending and getting caught up with the bad shit. But I'm not ignorant to the fact that once involved with gangs, there's always going to be some degree of a connection. Particularly if it's family, right? So I understand that. So that's why acknowledging that some people will still have people that they affiliate with to some extent that are gang members, that I can understand, and that doesn't mean you're going to fail and that you're not going to be able to stay out of prison, but you're giving yourself a much better shot if you can go completely cold turkey on that life, completely cold turkey and people involved with that stuff. But judges like this are a problem. Judges like this need to have their jobs taken away from them. Because that is just pathetic. He's just condemned that 21-year-old nomad to a life of crime. Or at the very least, a few more years of it. It's just not good enough. But I'll very, very quickly chuck some tunes back on, mute myself for a bit, and I'll find something else to have a look at. But what I will do is quickly mute myself and chuck the tunes on, and then I'll be not too far out. If you've got any questions, so forth, anything you want to add, feel free in the comment section. It's been 128 of you in total, which is awesome. Great to see you all tuning in. Actually, a quick plug. Do feel free to go and follow the Underground Daily or Underground Media Network on X in particular. I will leave that in the multi-stream chat at PRT Radio. Because that is, well, of course, I'm powered by the Underground Media Network, and that is where you need to be, quite frankly, for a great source. A great source of a great source of media and news from a range of different sources, be it myself, Simon Anderson TV. We've got another guy who does Tainted Minds. He's based over in the US. He does things on a lot of supernatural stuff. I think even I'm not too clued up on exactly what he does, but it's very, very fascinating. I know Captain Jack. This is of course the account you want to follow if you were following Captain Jack before his suspension. Goodness me for stuttering. And so yeah, I'll make sure to leave that in the chat really quickly. I'll just put the @ in there. If you need the link, let me know. But yes, I will quickly put on some tunes.
Hand on the wheel, got my pistons pumping, all 800 horses running. Oh baby. 125 in the middle of the night, got my engine thundering. Dream machine, racing queen, I'll take you wherever you wanna go. Let's slow us down, break the speed of sound. Tonight we all know racing. Dream machine, racing queen, you make my heart beat, you make my heart beat. Dream machine, racing queen, you make my heart beat, you make my heart beat. Lights flashing behind me. Dream machine, racing queen, you make my heart beat, you make my heart beat. Born to ride, Mustang 65, got that V8 engine with a fuel injection. Drop the clutch, pedal to the floor, turn that giddy part into a lion's roar. Dream machine, racing queen, I'll take you wherever you wanna go. Let's slow us down, break the speed of sound. Tonight we all know racing. Dream machine, racing queen, you make my heart beat, you make my heart beat. Dream machine, racing queen, you make my heart beat, you make my heart beat. Lights flashing behind me. Dream machine, racing queen, you make my heart beat, you make my heart beat. Dream machine, racing queen, you make my heart beat, you make my heart beat. Dream machine, racing queen, you make my heart beat, you make my heart beat. Lights flashing behind me. Dream machine, racing queen, you make my heart beat, you make my heart beat.
Alrighty, I feel like this is probably the best place to finish it off with this one last little article from Speak Up for Women because sex matters. With the whole Eli Rabashkin nonsense that happened this week. I mean, it was a conviction, I suppose that's okay. But, a slap on the wrist is never ideal. But we'll leave it off here with this final bit. Then I got to go off to a meeting of sorts. Anyway, so that will be great. And again, if you've got anything to add, please don't feel shy about commenting. I'd love to read and share my points or just, share what you've got to say. Someone may very much agree if I do not. It's not about the tomato juice. 100% agree, it's not about the tomato juice. Who even drinks tomato juice? I can only think of a Bloody Mary would be the only excuse where someone is allowed to drink tomato juice. And even then, I don't know why people order Bloody Marys. They're a pain in the ass to make. As an Albert Park survivor, I felt a lot was riding on the sentence to be handed down on September 2nd, 2024. If Eli Rabashkin got away with the tomato juice assault at the abandoned Let Women Speak event at Albert Park in March 2023, it would be a slap in the face to the named victims, Tanya Sturt and Kelly J. Keane Minshall, and it would send a chilling message to the other women gathered there that day that freedom of expression no longer applies to those wishing to speak up for women's rights in New Zealand. I met Tanya through the Albert Park rally, and the day was quite an eye-opener to me to the depths of the infiltration of gender ideology in New Zealand. I knew it was bad, but I really had no idea. It's been an honour to work alongside this veteran women's rights activist, and to support her during the sentencing was a no-brainer to me. We were both a bit nervous due to all the unknowns. Who would attend, what would be said or done, what the outcomes would be, so we met early and took a leisurely drive into the city. We had lunch with Simon Anderson, of course, a nice man with great shirts. I promised I'd mention them. Speaking of Simon Anderson and his shirts, I do believe he exposed himself last week of having the same fashion sense as Jeffrey Marsh. So I 100% agree with Simon over on X, saying that he disagrees with the whole shirt comment. We can't have Simon Marsh over here, who just happened to have a camera in the right place at the right time that fateful day. He is very interested in this case, has a quirky sense of humour that kept our spirits up, and was very supportive of Tanya throughout the process. Given the media's proven infatuation with the trans lobby, he did a couple of interviews with Tanya to make sure her voice was on the public record. Victim. Proceedings began with Tanya's victim impact statement, which was a very powerful reminder of the traumatic events she faced that day at the hands of someone who was offended at the thought of women speaking in public. She included a vivid description of psychological toll of having an unknown substance poured on her. I felt terror, then disgust and violation. You did not harm me physically, but you could have, she went on to say. You were interviewed on camera grinning and stating you wanted to prevent hatred in this country. Such perverse irony. Tanya bravely ended with this. Your actions instigated a series of events which have impacted my finances, my employment, my peace of mind, my mental and physical health, and my relationships. I care about my right to be a woman who can stand in public and freely speak the truth, unimpeded by the actions of someone who disagrees with me. Women the world over stand with you, Tanya. I concur. Now, George says, sounds like the police might be charging him with assault on a police officer, according to Sean Plunkett. Yes, there is a couple more charges to come, or at least a couple more things to be finished up in court. Whatever actually comes of it, who knows. But yeah, the charges definitely in the mix, and the court. I think Simon Anderson mentioned November, unless I'm mistaken. We'll get some more insight into it at that stage. Defense. Then the defense counsel, James Olsen, began his verbal submissions, recapping events from his client's perspective. Kelly J. Keane and her views were described as hateful and anti-trans, while Rabashkin's actions were painted as a virtuous reaction to various alleged experiences in his country of birth. Yes, because of course it is Kelly J. Keane, Minshall's, and New Zealand's fault for shit that happened in your own country, Eli. Olsen said his client stands by his premeditated action, and his interview on One News bragging about keeping New Zealand free of dangerous anti-trans views, but posited the assault could be described as extreme protest. He was exercising his right to freedom of expression and perhaps just went too far with the juice. Yes, it was the juice that was too far. Maybe if he just tipped empty air on her head, it would have been fine. He made out his client was also a victim, going so far as to say he suffered as much as the named victims, with the bodyguard manhandling to remove him from the rotunda. Water splashed on him and alleged death threats and psychological harm in the following weeks and months. But hang on a minute. Facing the consequences of the actions you chose and planned to do is not at all the same thing as facing the consequences of someone else's actions forced on you. He expertly distorted the nature of the harm done. As my mother used to say, how do defense lawyers sleep at night? Fair point. The judge questioned the defendant's remorse, noting the lengthy time between the charge April 2023 and the guilty plea June 2024. Counsel said his client had had time to reflect on his actions. No further excuse was offered. I agree with what Judge Lummis was clearly thinking, that there's a vast difference between true remorse for your actions and mere regret at having to face the consequences of them. Of all the outlandish things Olsen said, this next defense had to be the most offensive. He drew our attention to the sometimes unlawful actions of the suffragettes in the early 20th century to gain equal voting rights with men. I can't remember his exact words, but to paraphrase, he said that sometimes today's criminals are tomorrow's heroes, but those who are vindicated by history. He actually asked the court, and a female judge at that, to accept the equivalence of women using violence to gain equal rights with men, and a man using violence to silence a group of mainly middle-aged women he disagreed with. It was an especially audacious tactic given the reason for the event at which the assault took place, to make women's voices heard on a social issue which seriously threatens our privacy and safe participation in society. Whenever the other side offers a defense for the aggression, they never see the irony and hypocrisy of their position. That's because the ideologically captured left, the ideologically captured progressives, are incapable of critical thinking. They're incapable of understanding the irony, the hypocrisy of their position. They live in a fantasy land. That's the best way of looking at it. Sentencing. In his submissions regarding sentence, Olsen noted his client's previous good conduct since arriving in New Zealand in 2014, the harm suffered for his actions, and the effect a conviction would have on his client's ability to travel, something Kelly J. Keane would likely be able to do, I'm sure, but who feels unsafe to come to New Zealand, our little haven of trans activism. Further, Olsen said no harm was done to the two victims. Did he forget the psychological, emotional, financial, relational harm Tanya mentioned just minutes prior? He also drew the court's attention to a previous case of someone who got sentenced of 18 hours community service for spitting on a police officer. As this was a bodily fluid, he submitted this was a worse offence than the one committed with mere tomato juice, completely ignoring the different settings, parties, and purpose of each altercation. The common assault charge carries a maximum penalty of 6 months imprisonment or a fine of up to $4,000. The only way is up from here, surely. Olsen claimed that a conviction for his offence would be disproportionate punishment for the consequences of his client's actions, which amounted to excessive protesting, nothing like a Saturday night punch-up. Are we actually forgetting, and did this judge forget, that after all of that liquid was tipped on Kelly J. Keane's head, and Eli Rabashkin was more or less dragged away, that there was the very real potential for people to be crushed to death by the ravenous trans rights activists, trans rights fascists. Crushed to death was looked like a very likely outcome. From hearing what people said, seemed to be happening to some degree, fortunately not to the extent of death, but certainly injury. And that was a moment in time instigated, one could argue, by the tipping of juice on the head. The consequences of the actions went beyond just getting wet and covered with, red liquid. Went far beyond that. He still He has still been charged with assault, and let's not forget that the other man who assaulted another woman at the same event was discharged without conviction for the very Saturday night punch-up scenario Olsen offered. So that argument doesn't hold water. A discharge without conviction in this case could very well send the message the two are the same. Small thing after all. A disastrous outcome for New Zealand women. His final tactic was to ask the judge not to inflate the nature of the offending because of the cultural situation and media interest. But I would say, by the same token, this is no excuse to minimise the nature of this offending either. This was a premeditated attack on women's free speech. This is all the event was about, women speaking. The organisers had a permit, and as far as they knew, police cooperation and backing. The cultural situation and media interest is not what makes Rabashkin look bad. Rather, it was what put the women there in danger. A riot whipped up by media with government backing. The cultural situation changes nothing about the nature of the offending, but everything about the nature of the harm inflicted. And that's important because the whole basis for basically not giving a penalty of any kind beyond a conviction is that apparently no real harm was inflicted at all. Just a few stains. As Tanya has rightly stated in her opposition to the defendant receiving a discharge without conviction, what is effectively an acquittal will showcase and promote the societal misogyny and violence against women in New Zealand and will negate the intent of the Bill of Rights Act. She refers, of course, to freedom of expression, a right which the women at Let Women Speak event at Albert Park were exercising. So in summary, the defendant inflicted violence to prevent violence. That's his defence. I can't get my head around that one. And George has said again, he sent highly inappropriate pics of himself to Posey Parker after the assault. Yes, I do recall hearing something about that. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Counsel for prosecution surprisingly offered no verbal submissions. The judge wanted to deliberate further, and it was after 5 p.m, so the court was adjourned until the next day. It was so disappointing to leave without it all being settled. Day 2. This was not an easy decision. Those were not the first words we wanted to hear from the judge ahead of sentencing. Judge Lummis did all the talking today, and it was all about the defendant. She recapped the lead-up to the event in March 2023 from Rabashkin's affidavit, his personal history, which has been the reason for his activism in trans rights and his deep commitment to social justice. The judge went to great lengths to praise his work and give context to the presence at Albert Park. I do wonder why there is such a focus on the offender's past these days. Nothing in my past should alleviate me of my responsibility for my actions. Human beings have free will, self-awareness, and rationality. In my view, his history is completely irrelevant to his actions on the day. Where is the consideration of the background and context of the victims? Completely agree. Regarding the sentence, Judge Lummis told the court she had to look at the gravity of the assault, the consequences of that assault, and she had to apply proportionality to the sentence. In other words, give him a slap on the wrist. Gravity. For the gravity, she noted that although it was a low-level assault and no physical harm was done, but not technically, the premeditated nature of the attack added to its seriousness. She also noted there had been no apology or evidence of true remorse. Despite clear video evidence of the attack and his One News interview bragging about the assault just minutes later, he applied to have charges dismissed in September 2023. Judge Ryan decided in October that there was a clear case to answer, and he waited another 8 months to enter a guilty plea. Mitigating factors. The delayed guilty plea prior to good character. The delayed guilty plea, prior good character, letters of support, by the Green Party no doubt, work for the rainbow community, here and overseas, the diplomatic work. For some reason, she felt the defendant would do things differently next time, despite saying something very different. But I'm not so sure about that given the delayed guilty plea. Consequences. For consequences, she noted they were significant on both sides with a surge. For consequences, she noted these were significant on both sides with a surge of abuse experienced, but that he had regained employment, was generally well respected in his circles, and she had not been presented with any reason to consider travel an immediate problem. She noted even with a conviction he would be able to travel, albeit with some potential challenges. Sentence. Judge Lummis felt a strong sentence would have a general deterrent effect, a reminder that people can't take the law into their own hands. This was, after all, a premeditated assault, so he was convicted of the 2 charges. But as she considered some consequences had already been experienced, and for proportionality, he was discharged with no further penalty. Overall, we were pleased with this sentence. Reflections. It was hard to sit there and listen to the judge praise the offender for the parts of his life that had no real relevance to his conduct that day. He may not have organised the protest, and he may not have physically harmed anyone with his actions, but he intended to send a message that our views were not welcome. He bragged about that message. He was celebrated for that message, and he pleaded not guilty despite video footage being available to an international audience on the day of the offence occurring. A conviction was the only just outcome. I was there when the assault occurred, and I was there when the offender received punishment. We still await the results of the IPCA complaint, but this is a huge step towards closure. As loud as the protesters' message was to us at Albert Park, I'm very pleased that on Albert Street, the New Zealand justice system felt it necessary to send as loud a message back to the anti-women protesters that in a free and democratic society, difference of opinion is no excuse for violence. This was a victory for women's rights in New Zealand, or as Tanya would say, boom. And it is noted that the use of male pronouns throughout, because the words in Rebashkin's own story are assigned at birth as male and later transitioned to be a woman. But humans cannot change sex. I concur. Now, what I strongly believe about this is Green Party endorsed political violence. That's what this action was. Rebashkin is far too involved with the Green Party, far too supported by the Green Party. The Green Party will 100%... Chloe Swarbrick the next day pretending like there was nothing really wrong going on from what the trans rights activists and from Aliana Rebashkin. This was Green Party endorsed political violence. Fact. I will die on that hill. But all that being said, I'm absolutely done. I'm done for today. So, if anyone's got any last minute things they want to put into the comment section for me to read out, please feel free to do so. I will be happy, more than happy to read them out. But in the meantime, we will fade out with a little bit more music. And, well, yeah, we will wrap it up there.
Say I'm good-hearted, but I'm just getting started. Got my eyes on the target. No, no. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. To give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. Best to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, they'll be calling me royalty. I broke all the cages, no, I won't sit and take it. No, no. They left me for dead, I guess I'll never learn. Every time I break, there's just more pain to burn. They'll never, never, never learn. Till the battle's won, till kingdom come. Just to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty. Just to give me your loyalty, 'cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me, calling me. They'll be calling me royalty. You came with a warning. I should have seen it. My bad for falling. I'm far from perfect, but I know what my worth is. More than you're giving. What goes up comes back down. What goes out comes around. You're so dumb or reckless. You already reckless. What goes up comes back down, and your day will come around. And I don't wanna fix this. You already like this for good. What goes up comes back down. What goes out comes around. What goes up comes back down, and your day will come around. Oh no. What goes up comes back down. What goes out comes around. You're so dumb and reckless. You already reckless. What goes up comes back down, and your day will come around. And I don't wanna fix this. You already like this for good. What goes up comes back down. What goes out comes around. You're so dumb and reckless. You already reckless. What goes up comes back down, and your day will come around. And I don't wanna fix this. You already like this for good. I look at people and I wonder all day, who are you and you are not the one in your way. And then I think about myself and I state, I'm a pretty boss, look almost your brain waste. I'm a freak in the sheets, but I got class. I'ma grab an ass if you want it. Best you ever had, give it to you back. Ooh. Taco Bell, quiet with a big mouth. Listen for the doubt, then call it. Make you out for what you say to me. Look at every single date. If you got what I need, then oh, I'll take you on like a big deal. Legs you can unseal, key in ignition. Just keep me full like I had a meal once in a while. Feel alright. I know you like it, can't fight it. I'ma let you ride the wave. I'm New York and you're LA. Come together, feel the shock waves.